Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. In this video today, we are mostly going to be talking about TSM, and we are going to be focusing, at least mostly, on the couple of imports that they did bring in from this past offseason. Obviously talking about Kaido and Shenny, because there was so much kind of misinformation, miscommunication, whatever you want to call it, as they were being brought in from the offseason to the regular season and getting started over in the LTS about just how good these guys were previously, how good they were going to be, how good they were actually, what their ceiling was. And I know with Shenny, everyone was like, oh, he played on FPX, and, he must have been insane. Like, yeah, he played a couple games of FPX, he looked decent, but he was still just an FPX Academy player. Who knows what FPX saw in the future for him. And then you had Kaido, who was literally just like a mid-pack player in the LDL, which some people saw as, oh, Chinese mid laner, he's going to come smash the LCS automatically. And some other people were like, oh, he was just kind of held back by his team, all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. And then so many people were on the just trashing them side, and so many people were on the way overhyping them. And now I think we're starting to see a little bit more about who these players actually are now that we've got to see them for a couple of months. So I do want to present somebody else's opinions and takes on these players, somebody who obviously knows them a little closer than most of these people. We're going to be hearing from LS in this video, so definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy it. I would appreciate that a ton, and subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. With that being said, let's get right into this. This is a clip from, at the time I'm recording, this is 10 days ago. Hey, sometimes I got to keep stuff off to the side to bring it out later, but obviously Hotline League, I'm a big fan of it. I don't usually watch it live. I'm not a huge fan of live streams, but I'll often click through and kind of see what different stuff's going on. This is from LS returns to Hotline League. What happens with C9 now? What steps does TSM need to take? Hotline League 210. I already dropped a like on it. You guys should as well. Also, you should drop a like on any content that you're checking out, any content that you do enjoy. But they have LS. And they're talking about TSM and asking him some good questions, and we actually get LS's thoughts and opinions. So let's see what he has to say.
Let me ask you this, kind of playing off what you're saying, Epsilon. LS, are you, because one of the things that Andy had said was that there's $1 million spent on the buyouts for Shenyi and KI Duo. Are you surprised that TSM spent $1 million on those buyouts for those players? I'll take your exasperated response as a yes. You are surprised.
I mean, Walken was there.
I don't want to be an asshole, but like people have heard my comments that like I could play against them, right? This is not that is actually just a reality. That's not good. These are not import level players.
So, obviously, that is very spicy. A couple of different things he has going on there. One, he reacts to their buyouts. And again, this is what Reggie said on Reddit or whatever, where he's like, hey, we spent $5 million total on this roster. We spent $1 million on the buyouts. 7 figures on the buyouts for these 2 Chinese imports to actually bring them in. And LS is shocked by the amount of money they spent. Also, saying that he could play with them, he could play against them, they are on his level, and LS is a high-level player. He's a guy who's played high elo solo queue all over the place. He is a guy who has scrimmed internally with, great teams around the world. Say what you will about LS, and I've said my fair share, but he's a good player, he's a good mind, he's an intelligent guy around the game, and he can hold his own against a lot of players, but he's not world-class level. And again, if you're spending, and no one would spend 7-figure buyout on LS, it just would never happen. That would be ridiculous. That would be crazy. And LS is saying, these guys are on my level, and also saying they are not import level talent and import level players. And that is something that I have been saying dating back to the offseason, that regardless of how good or not you guys think these players are or could be in the future, or how good Reggie thinks they're going to be 3 years from now, which is absolutely insane. 3 years in esports is such a crazy amount of time. To even be talking about that is ridiculous. That was such ridiculous statements coming out of Reggie's mouth, and that's stuff that I've been saying the whole time, that yes, using import slots on these players, let alone spending 7 figures on top of that, is ridiculous. So I did think it was very interesting to hear this said from LS. Obviously, LS is a guy who follows a ton of talent all around the world. He follows people at the highest leagues, but he also follows, the academy scenes and kind of the underground. He knows who the next up are. He knows who the top Chinese players are, who the top Korean players are. These guys play on Korean solo queue. They play on the Chinese super server. They talk amongst teams. They all know who's good, who's not, all of this stuff. And for him to say that both these guys are not import level talents, I think is very, very interesting. But then also getting his reaction to the buyout and the amount of money spent obviously is interesting as well, because I don't know exactly how much LS knows about, the amounts of money that Cloud9 spent this offseason on players like Berserker or, a lot of these guys. But obviously, he has very, very close ties to T1. He's good friends with Joe Marsh, and he was inside the Cloud9 organization. I'm sure he has at least some general idea, if he doesn't know the exact amounts that were spent on top players and guys that are proving to be top players like Berserker. He even has a good idea how much money was spent on a guy like Winsome, who is a very, very interesting up-and-coming talent, and so far, has probably been performing above the level of both Shenny and Kaido, and is also a resident, which makes him even more valuable. And the fact that he's reacting to this in such a way is really, really crazy. I mean, he has, talked about these guys before, and that's the interesting part. This is not the first time he's saying stuff like this. He's not, going for a hot take or anything like that. He also talked about this previously in this video. Summit's freezing so much he's turning into Mount Everest. This is on the Cloud9 League of Legends channel. Cloud9 LCS Week 2 behind the scenes. Here's what he had to say then.
Of how practice and approach is going, so I think that's good. For next week's games, TSM CLG, right? So I mean, I think the TSM mid laner is probably worse than me, so that's good news for Fudge.
So, hey, he has said this stuff before. He is not a fan of Kaido. And I know a lot of people are giving praise to LS for what he was able to do with Cloud9, his different drafts, his different strategies, all that stuff, but also building this Cloud9 roster, giving C9, even before he was willing to be head coach or whatever, he was giving recommendations on a lot of these players. He helped them bring in Winsome. He helped them bring in Berserker. He helped them bring in Summit. And I think all three of those players have been smash hits so far, and immediate smash hits, and especially in the case of Berserker and Winsome, where they're young players who are also expected to grow and develop into the future. TSM's talking about this 3-year plan. 3 years from now, I know Berserker and Winsome are maybe not going to be on Cloud9, maybe not going to be on NA, who knows, they might go anywhere else, but I bet they're still going to be relevant in the League of Legends scene, and probably both going to be very damn good players that are relevant in the International League of Legends scene. And I don't know if I can say the same for Kaido and Shenny, especially at this point in their career, who knows, but it does seem like, at least, specifically Kaido, who I think is the player that more people were skeptical of between the two. It seems like LS is very, very low on him and has been low on him in multiple different instances. I just think that's super, super weird. I think I don't think you'll find a person out there who is not going to say that TSM, did not overpay on these players. Even if TSM decided these were the two players they wanted. It seems like a pretty general consensus that TSM got absolutely fleeced by these two organizations, FPX and TT especially. Obviously, we don't know how much money was spent on each of these two players specifically. But so even if you did think that these two players were good enough and they were the guys, it seems like a disgusting overpay. But then there is still people out there that are skeptical if these were even the guys. And again, if you say that, people will say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, armchair analyst, yada, yada, yada. TSM, I think, knows what they're doing. They had this scouting grounds. Yeah. Okay, maybe I think it's time to question what the heck TSM's doing financially, what the heck their scouting is, what is their training programs, when they're going over to China and Korea and these players, oh, Kaido's looking insane in our things, oh, we're looking great in scrims, oh, we're going to play an LPL style, that's all BS. None of that has come true. None of that has been accurate at all. So what the heck is going on behind the scenes at TSM, and why are, highly respected people like LS and guys who have made a lot of great decisions recently and had a good eye for talent and made some smart business decisions, all this stuff, why are they so shocked with what TSM is doing? I don't know. I mean, that doesn't make him necessarily right. It doesn't make TSM necessarily wrong. I'm just sharing you guys, another opinion on the whole situation, because it was pretty spicy, and I thought it was interesting and entertaining. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about LS's comments. Are they surprising to you? Not surprising? Is this what you'd expect to hear? Have you seen enough of these TSM guys to know that, yeah, people probably shouldn't think they're too good? I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then.